Hello everyone. We are going to see session fixation vulnerability. So before we will look into what is session fixation, let's start with session. What is session? Then definition of session fixation. And we'll see how attacker perform this attack, how session fixation vulnerability arises practically. Then we will see the impact. What is the impact if application is vulnerable to session fixation attack? What are the impacts? Then I will tell you the mitigation, how you can mitigate this vulnerability. So let's start with the session. What is session? So if you see like any application, there is login page. So once you are entering a valid username and valid password, you will get access to application. And that particular session, that particular user, how it will be identified as a unique user. To do that, application is creating a session, and that session is valid till log out. So that it will identify that user as a unique user. So after login till log out, the something application is maintaining that is called session. So how they are maintaining? To maintain that, they are using the term called session identifier. Many people are calling session token also, and I think you have seen something will come like a session ID with some value. So it belongs to different application have different names. So if it is Java, you can see JSession ID. If it is .NET, you can see ASP.NET session ID. Somewhere you can see clearly session ID. So this particular ID is unique, and this helps to identify a user, which is unique user, which is accessing that particular application at that particular moment of time. And now we'll see how it's happening, like how session is working. Like when a user browses to any application like www.test.com, something, any abcd.com, anything. So what will happen? How session will be created? So session will be created in three ways. First, you can see in a get request as a variable. So if you enter valid username, password, you enter something like test.com or abc.com, request will be like this. Get/login.jsp. Then you can see JSession ID with some value. Then you can see the host name www.test.com. This is a normal request you can see once you are logged in with the username password. This is the login page. Second way, like session ID, the session token will go in a post request. So post request will go as a body. So it will go like this. You can see this session ID. With different application, you can see different name, but the concept is same. Third way, you can send that particular session ID as a cookie. So it will go like this, and you can see the JSession ID is going in a cookie. So there are three ways you can send a token, and when using this token, using this session ID, it is identifying the uniqueness of a user. This user is unique. So this is all about session. Now let's understand session fixation. What is session fixation? If you see example or a definition, it's kind of attack that allow an attacker to take over a legitimate user session on a web application. It means with this vulnerability, it's kind of vulnerability which allow attacker to take a victim session. So they can overtake the session of a victim with this attack. So how to perform this attack? So it's a kind of attack where attacker tricks the user to opening a URL with a predefined session identifier. So what attacker will do? Attacker will send as a link, and it's kind of tempting link, kind of way of you click buy one get one offer, the valid URL will be there, and you can see like someone can send, suppose it's a Flipkart or any e-commerce application, what they will send, and you know that application, you are using that application. So they can send you mail in such a way that you will see it's a genuine website, URL is genuine, but they added a session ID over there, and it will give us something like buy one get one for 1 week, something like that, you'll get as a tempting link of a kind of thing. If you click, then it will redirect you to that particular page, and that page is valid. You have seen, yeah, that domain is correct, everything correct. You will not see, you will enter valid username and password, and you will be able to log in the application. And that particular URL sent by the attacker through a mail contain a session ID which is hard coded, a fake session ID which is created by the attacker. So using this, this attack can be done. So we'll see how attacker is performing. To perform this attack, what attacker will see? So attacker will go through that application. So suppose the application is vulnerable. So firstly, what attacker will see, whether session ID is passing in a query string, and that particular app is vulnerable. So attacker came to know, yeah, this application is vulnerable and session ID is passing in a query string. So attacker will craft a URL like this. Something www.test.com, then this session ID equal to this. So if you see a proper request, it will be get then /www.test.com !session ID equal to this, and that contains some header in that request. So when you capture the request, you can see this thing. But what attacker will do, they will craft this, and they will not send simply as a mail or click a link, nothing like that. They will create a page where they can see, click here to get buy one, get one offer kind of. So they can send a mail like that, and victim will see it is valid domain name, they can click. Attacker will send this URL to victim as a tempting link. When user click the link, it will redirect to login page. So login page of the valid website. So here domain and all, it's valid. So when user see it is valid website, user will enter valid credential and session is established. But that session is established with this particular session ID which is sent by a attacker. So this is a fake session ID or attacker created session ID, and application will not create a new session ID. Application will use same session ID which attacker is already having. So attacker will already having this session ID in a login page. What attacker will do? Attacker will refresh the page. Once it will refresh the page, attacker will get the session of victim. How attacker will get? Since this particular link attacker sent to a victim. Victim click this link, redirect to login page. After redirecting login page, attacker entered valid username and password. And attacker and that victim got access to the application. So since username password is valid, so application is validating only username and password. It is not validating the session. So whatever session attacker sent, with the same session, application got logged in. And that session is already now with attacker. So what attacker will do? Attacker will open login page, and that login page already having this session ID. Attacker will refresh his page. Once attacker will refresh his page, attacker will get the session of this particular user, and attacker can access the application on behalf of that victim. So attacker victim will not come to know that someone else is using my account, and attacker is using that, and attacker can do whatever they want. Since they can access the application, they can do anything. So it's we can understand via seeing this scenario. So first step, what attacker will do. So attacker will first attacker will do to find application whether it is vulnerable or not. So attacker will go through the many applications and will find which application is vulnerable. So suppose attacker found one application is vulnerable. Test.com is application which is vulnerable. So what it will do, attacker will firstly reach to login page, and that login page will provide a JSON ID to the attacker. So this attacker is still in login page. It is because he want to take session of other user, want to perform session fixation attack, which is in login page, and got a session ID like this. Attacker will craft a URL like this, http as test.com/login.jsp JSON ID equal to this, and this URL they will send to victim. Once victim will receive this link, what victim will do? Victim will click this link. Victim again it will be redirected to login page. So login page, and again that victim will see that it is a valid URL. So victim will enter a valid username and password. Once the victim will enter valid username and password, it get access to the application. Now victim is already logged into the application with this session ID. Attacker, what it will do, it is already in login page with this session ID. What attacker will do, attacker will refresh his page. Once he will refresh, he can get access to the application which victim is already logged in. Since it is logged in and a session is established, so once attacker will refresh his page, they won't ask any username or password because session is already active. Attacker will be able to access the application. So this is all about session fixation attack. Now what is the impact? So impact is takeover of victim session to steal confidential data, transfer fund. So if any sensitive information they can get. If there is a feature of transferring fund, since application got access to the session, the attacker got access to the session, access to the application, they can do whatever they want. They can see all the confidential data. They can, if the application is belong to banking application, there's feature of transfer fund, so they can do a transfer fund. They can add pay, like whatever possible thing they can do. Since attacker get access to the application, complete account takeover. So since session is already established, unless session not logged out, so attacker is using that. And attacker can get entire account takeover. They can see all the tab, they can view all the transaction, they can see all the order, anything. Depends on the application, what are the functionality, attacker can do anything because attacker has taken entire account takeover. So this are impact. Now, why this application is vulnerable to session fixation attack? So we'll see practically in a code. So I have one code. So here you can see in this code what is happening. See, there's a method called authenticate user. Okay, so whenever you are entering valid username and password, so this method will be called. So what here it is happening, the code is written by developer, they are getting a username. So whatever username you are entering, it is going and getting as a string. Whatever password you are entering, they are taking as a string. Now they are creating a session object. So HTTP session request.get session calls. So whatever it is taking the session, whatever session is coming in a request. So you have seen attacker is sending something like this. HTTP test.com login.jsp session ID, this something like this. So what will happen? They are creating a session object, but same session they are using. So if you see this code, you will understand what is happening. So the session object is created. Now authenticate user, username, password and session. So in request already session is there. Same session they are using to authenticate the user. So they are validating user. There might be one service class where username authenticate user method will be there. There they have written code to validate username and password, and same session they are passing. And they are not going to validate session, whether it is a new session, first time logging, a unique session should be generated. They are not going to do anything like that. They are using a method where they are validating only username and password. They are using existing session. So if username and password is correct, they are establishing a session. You can say request.get session true, return true. So now session is established and you are able to access the application. So this is the vulnerability. Whatever session came in a request, same is used by the application. There's no validation of session which really leads to this kind of vulnerability. So mitigation. First thing, session ID must be random, it should not be anything which is hard-coded by attacker sent to as a link and you are logging it in be accessible. No. R-based sent in cookie. I told you there are 3 ways we can send session ID like a session token. First is through get request. You can see in a URL it is going jsession like www.test.com !jsession ID equal to some value, right? This is one way. Second way, post method. Through post, how we are sending like www post then /www.test.com, then you can see it is going in a body and percent JSON ID equal to some value. So, and third way, we can so either get or post request as a cookie. So there is a unique request parameter, you can see cookie, and through that you are sending cookie colon JSON ID equal to some value. So this is the best way to send the session ID, that session identifier or token. Are best sent over SSL. So always send over SSL. Should be always encrypted. SSL is like you have seen like HTTP and HTTPS. So whenever you are sending SSL, should be always in HTTPS. What HTTPS will do, it will encrypt your entire request. So if any attacker is trying to sniff your request, they will not get anything because entire network traffic is encrypted. So that's why you always send over SSL. Are designated as the HTTP only and secure. So there are cookie attribute HTTP only and secure. You need to set this attribute to so that the protocol degradation will not happen if you set to secure, and if it is HTTP only, so that information should not be sent to the attacker. For that purpose, we are sending this as a cookie attribute. Now, the way what we can do, session must invalidated on logout. So once you log out, the session should be invalidated. In the sense, session should be cleared, should be deleted. Timeout duration should be acceptable. So you need to set the session timeout. If you are not using application for 15 minutes, should automatically time out. An ID must be changed on logout. So once you are giving username and password, every time new session ID should be generated. Whatever it is coming in a request anyone sent, should not, the same session ID should not be used. Every time unique session ID should be generated. That is what new session ID should be generated after login. So session ID should be changed, and every time new session ID will be generated. Once you log out, again if you are going to log in, new session ID should be generated. So the session ID is new, so any attacker will send a link as a hard-coded session ID, and also there's not a problem because that ID application will not consider, because application is going to generate a new session ID, and that session ID will be active entire this till login till logout. When you log in till logout, that particular unique session ID which is newly generated by the application will be used. So this, by using this way, you can prevent this mitigation. Now safe code, you have seen vulnerable code, right? Now so what is the safe code, how we can fix? So here you can see same authenticate user method where we are getting a username, where we are getting a password, and we are creating a session object. So after creating a session object, we are checking whether session is not equal to null. Means if a URL, whatever you are getting, having any session ID, if it is not null, means session ID, some value will be there, some session is already there. If it is not null, they are deleting the session first, session.invalidate. This is only extra line of code which a developer need to write to fix this vulnerability. They need to check whether that session is null or not. If that session is null, if it is null, then fine, they can go through this, they can validate the username, password, and they are going to create new session. But if it is not null, if already some session is there in a request, then they need to delete that session. That is what session not equal to null means. Session have some value, they need to invalidate. Invalidate means they need to delete that session. They need to clear the session, and they are going to create a new session. So if they will add this line of code, this vulnerability is fixed. Then they will authenticate a user, the new session will be created, and after that they can process the application. And by using this, you can prevent the mitigation. Now let's compare this. Again, we are going to see the code where we are going to do. So see here vulnerable code, getting the username, getting the password, creating a session object, and same, since this is vulnerable application, so same session is used. They are not going to validate session. Same session will be used. They are only authenticating username, password, and they are allowing to access the application. But here you can see in safe code what is happening. So for this application, they are getting username, getting password, getting the session. If session is not null, session contains some value, they are deleting that session value first. They are invalidating the session, Then they're authenticating, creating new session, and processing the application. So by using this, you can prevent the vulnerability. And thanks for watching the video. If you need any help, if you have any doubt, then please do comments. I'll try to resolve all your issue. Thank you very much.